would be on Green Microfinance in Asia Pacific region, investments for sustainable development. And Breakaway Session 3 would be on managing human capital in microfinance, challenges and strategic pathways. Also, there will be one lead presentation in Breakaway Session 3. And we would have a small presentation here also at about 2 o'clock. May I request you all to kindly join us back sharp at 2 p.m. and kindly take care of all your belongings. We request you all to kindly take care of your belongings. Now, this entire hall will be divided into 3 sections: Breakaway Session 1, 2, and 3. Breakaway Session 2 would be in the center stage. Breakaway Session 3 would be on to the right of the center stage, and Breakaway Session 1 will be on to the left of the center stage. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention at the cost of being repetitive. Once again, may I request you all to kindly carry your belongings and take care of your belongings.
2-3 minutes. Request all the delegates standing outside to please be seated. We will start the next session in another 2-3 minutes. Second breakaway session on day 1 of Sa-Dhan National Conference on Inclusive Growth 2024. This session is on green microfinance in Asia Pacific region, investments for sustainable development. Before we go into the panel discussion, we have a presentation on role of WASH in advancing climate resilience and gender empowerment. So to make this presentation, I would like to invite Mr. Sajid Amit, Executive Director, South Asia, Water.org, for the presentation. Welcome, sir.
Can we show the slides? Hi, everyone. I hope the mic is working. Is it working?
Check, check.
Hi, everyone. So it's never easy to, I think there's a bit of an echo. Is it because of these mics? Okay. Thank you so much. So it's never easy to come after lunch, of course, because I think all of you had us, rather squeezed lunch. So thank you for coming. So I'll just take this opportunity to address those of you who are here and run the audience through the work that we do at water.org. And let me first begin by thanking DG Sir and Sa-Dhan for putting together an excellent national conference, which happens every year. And every year, I feel like these conferences get more and more exciting. So without further ado, I just wanted to take you through the work that we do at water.org and why we care about WASH financing and how it matters for us and this audience of financial services practitioners and microfinance practitioners. So firstly, a snapshot of what we do and what our coverage is. Essentially, the way this organization was founded, a lot of you will have heard of Matt Damon of Hollywood fame. Matt Damon and Gary White, who is our other co-founder, got together more than 30 years ago. And they wanted to understand exactly what is it that can solve the water sanitation crisis. Because in their various visits in the developing world, I think Gary went to Guatemala and Matt came to India, and they realized that a significant percentage of our population wake up every morning wondering where water is going to come from. Now, imagine living in a reality, which I hope most of us don't have to experience, where we wake up and we wonder where our water is going to come from, right? If we don't have water when we wake up, I don't think we'll miss the internet, for example, or we'll miss anything else. So we take water for granted, but for large parts of the world, this is a reality. Water sanitation is not accessible for a large part of the world. So with this mission, to solve this WASH crisis, our founders, Gary White and Matt Damon, started the journey in the US. And they wanted to focus on one niche area because you see, there are lots of water sanitation NGOs in the world. But what Water.org decided to focus on was to try and solve the financing problem, the capital problem. Because we found that people are okay with paying for water, and people already pay for water. And when I say people, a lot of times it's women who pay for water, not just with money, but their time, their energy, and often their safety. Because in large parts of the developing world, women walk great distances to collect water for their families and for their households. And once the water is collected, which happens to be a limited quantity of water, as much as she can carry, there's often a hierarchy in usage. Oftentimes what we see in developing countries is that the father-in-law gets the first dibs on the use of the water, followed by the husband, and then the children, and then the women. This is a reality of rural landscapes all over the world. So with that in mind, what we decided to do was that we realized that we needed to empower women, we needed to work in the base of the pyramid, and we needed to mobilize capital for water sanitation financing. So with that, we started our journey, and you'll be happy to see that in India, we have now mobilized over $1.5 billion of capital through many partners, many of whom are here already. So the way we work is we essentially work with microfinance institutions, and we help build their capacity to deliver water sanitation products. These products can range from tube wells to latrines to even climate-resilient products like rooftop rainwater harvesting and so forth. We offer systemic levels and several levels of support. We help these microfinance institutions assess the demand for these products, develop a product catalog, offer multi-layered training for WASH. The training can start at the ground level. Of course, it starts at the top. It starts with master trainers, often goes to the branch level, and then it further goes down to the loan officer level. The KPIs we care about are basically the number of people reached, and we also look at the dollars of capital we have mobilized, because we feel this is the most sustainable way of creating a market. And as you can see, our average loan sizes in India are around $250. The global loan sizes are higher. The global loan sizes are higher because of the fact that we work in other countries as well. As you see, we work in South America and Southeast Asia, where the loan sizes, the average ticket size tends to be bigger. You'll also be happy to know we have a repayment rate of over 98%, around 99%, and that tends to be higher than our industry average. Because of this, we have found from several research studies that women are getting their time back. Adolescent women are also getting their time back. There's higher school-going rate among adolescent women and girls who were otherwise or earlier entrusted to source water. We've even found, and this is something that I think misses a lot of stakeholders, that water sanitation lending is not just a consumption loan. It's an income-enhancing loan. Because studies have shown that families that have availed of this loan have higher levels of saving, often 2 times the savings that families who do not avail of WASH loans do, and that's because of the direct impact on reduced healthcare costs. Because waterborne diseases are now dealt with. Areas that are affected by arsenic or iron or other contaminants are now able to use fresh water in their households, safely manage water in their households. Finally, I just want to give you a picture of how WASH is central to climate financing, or WASH financing is central to climate financing. So climate financing is something that I think a lot of you are more acquainted with. In the early 1990s, climate financing was a very small market. It was about $10 billion. As of 2021 and 2022, climate financing is a $1 trillion market. Now, when you look at climate financing, these sectors are pretty evident to most of you. You know that climate financing is going into electric vehicles, is going into agriculture, is going into solar. And if you look at the pie chart of climate financing segment, you will see that water and wastewater make up for only 5% of climate financing. Although, climate financing is essentially a WASH crisis. Just think about how most people experience climate financing. It's through floods, it's through droughts, it's through cyclones. Even things like forest fires are a direct consequence of access or availability of water and sanitation, right? Water in this case. So climate financing is climate is a wash problem in many ways. A lot of people say that if climate crisis is a shark, water sanitation are the teeth of the shark. Because that's how we experience climate crisis. So at Water.org, we're increasingly piloting climate-resilient products. We're working with different partners in different parts of India to develop centers of excellence. To give an example of what we're doing in the climate space, in case if some of you might be interested in joining hands. So because of the recent flooding that have happened in eastern part of the country, we're working with several partners to create a center for excellence for flood resilience. And what that means is, so we're taking this in several levels, right? The first level has to do with the fact that once flood waters recede, we see an outbreak of waterborne diseases. We know all this. But basic behaviors and behavioral change patterns that can actually help people not contract these diseases is not very widely known. So we're using our microfinance partner networks to now broadcast these behavioral change messages so people can be more resilient to these waterborne diseases, number one. Number two, when floodwaters surround people, what often happens is people start using the floodwater. They start using it for washing, they start using it for bathing, they start using it for household purposes. To some extent, that's unavoidable. And in certain parts of the country, it's actually possible to use the floodwater using some basic medicines and chemicals that are now available. But the knowledge of what to use is not widely known. So we are working with our microfinance partners to now disseminate this knowledge. So people can actually, in limited use cases, avail water this way. Thirdly, once floods happen, unfortunately behaviors change and people often go back to open defecation, which is an area where I think, as all of you know, the country has made great strides. So we are now working to again, spread awareness on how to avoid open defecation. And even within the realm of open defecation, there are ways to protect one's dignity and safety. So we are working with partners to ensure these things. And last but not the least, we're also working with our microfinance partners to pilot climate-resilient products. By that I mean hardware, like raised latrines and so forth, so that people can be more resilient to climate change and floods. I see my time is over, so this was basically a quick flash talk for the sake of some of you who might not know what we do. And I just want to finish by quickly urging a call to action that there's a bit of a tech failure here. Oh yeah, this is it. So the call for action that is here is that WASH is a climate problem. WASH is a gender-based problem. And we do need multi-stakeholder collaboration and partnership to make some of this happen. We work with more than MFIs. We work with micro enterprises. We work with the government. We work with utilities projects. We work with capital providers to make this happen. And I'd love to indulge in a deeper conversation with all of you to find out how we can work together to solve this crisis. With that, I'd like to end here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sajid, for sharing your rich insights and perspectives on WASH in advancing climate resilience and gender empowerment. Now we move on to the breakaway session. Like I said, shared earlier, this session is on green microfinance in Asia-Pacific region, investments for sustainable development. So this session will explore fast-growing trends, threats of climate change in Asia-Pacific region, and how microfinance can mitigate it. This session will be moderated by Mr. Prasun Kumar Das, Secretary General, APRACA, and we have the speakers, following speakers: Dr. R.K. Singh, CGM SIDBI, Mr. Dibyajyoti Pattanaik, Director, Annapurna Finance, Mr. Emmanuel, Investment Director, Caspian Investments, Mr. Abhishek Jain, Director, Powering Livelihoods, Center for Council for Energy, Environment and Water, Mr. Sahil Khanna, General Manager, Asia and Latin America, Sun King. So I would request the moderator and the speakers to kindly join us in the dais, please. Over to the moderator. We will try to conclude this session by 3 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I'm a little shorter than this mic. So thank you very much. Good afternoon once again for joining this session. This is not important, but emerging. The session, the name itself is Green Microfinance in Asia Pacific region. At the moment, we do not have much evidence that the microfinance institutions are doing green finance, because we do not have three things. One is we do not have the taxonomy. What is a green microfinance? Apart from the European Union taxonomy, which is not applicable to Asia Pacific region, especially the South Asian region. The second, we do not have a reporting system which shows us the evidence that we are doing green. Although a lot of our colleagues here from the MFIs and the small finance bank and BFCs, they are doing it. But we do not have the reporting system to do that. The third one, we really have no option for longer term adaptation plan for this. So based on these three, we tried to understand that what are the issues and challenges and what should we do. So during the next 30 minutes, our colleagues will be telling you what are the issues they have. See, financing to rural sector itself is risky. Then on top of it, you are talking about green finance. So you are bringing another layer of risk. Now, how to manage that risk? What are the instruments available? Whether the microfinance institutions have the access to those instruments? If at all they have the access to those instruments, whether those instruments are being used by the local or the Indian agencies, or it is coming from external financing or the donor agencies. So these are the issues we will be definitely discussing. But one of the major issues we will be discussing is the policies. How to bring this policy and bring these microfinance institutions and the banks to a common platform. We talk about that. But very often, we do not follow that. The reasons are multiple. But one of the major reasons is that we do not have the platform where we call it level playing field for us, the MFIs and the banks. The second one is the myth. The myth is that the green finance is a forte for the banks, commercial banking or the development banking system, or the public development bank for that matter. So that myth has to be broken, because we are doing it, but we are not reporting it. We do not have a disaggregated data on that. So the data points we need. So these are the few of the things, but what we are supposed to do on this. Do we think that our capacity for the microfinance institutions are sufficient to do it? If not, we build capacity. If we do have the voluntary guidelines by the SRO like Sa-Dhan, how to do it? What are the framework? How it can be coming up with targeting each of the SDGs. So that can be one way. The other way is allow access to the financial instrument, debt instrument, equity instruments. For example, if you have a green bond, which is, some of our colleagues might be talking more about that. But if we have that green bond, then we need to discuss on that. Why microfinance? or the NBFCs cannot use the green bond. Then the third one is definitely that we should be looking for not for the low-hanging fruits, rather than we should look into the even on the higher side, so that it will be more sweeter than the low-hanging fruits. I think I stop here to allow my colleagues to bring you some of the ground realities on the microfinance, greening the microfinance products and services. So for this reason, I would like to call upon Dr. R.K. Singh, who is the CGM of in SIDBI, those who are supporting the microfinance institution. Dr. R.K. Singh, you can start from there also if you don't want to come here. Thank you.
No. So at SIDBI, we have been into energy efficiency space since 2005-06. Full hog, we entered green financing in 2021, August around. And we realized that some of the questions which Das sir mentioned, I think we have tried to attempt that. And I would come to that before I come to that how can we handle the greening of microfinance. So we carried one mantra that financing the green will not happen unless you green the financing. Unless you embed environment and social governance framework into the entire gamut of lending, this will not happen. And we also thought initially that it would be difficult to do that in SME domain, but we have been fairly been successful doing that. And we are confident that this can be brought down and looked up for microfinance. So what we did was, initially we started with tagging our loan portfolio with green aspect. That these have orientation to absorb green loans. So second step we did was, we started giving green loans, and what we call as green loan is a loan where we are lending, and while lending we filter through environment and social governance framework. Second is, the entity has to be amenable to be monitored on GHG emission reduction or the energy savings they do. Third is, they should fall under a green definition framework. And as Das was mentioning, while we are yet to have taxonomy, SIDBI has got an actonomy in place, where we have identified 9 sectors and 69 activities which are green and which are very clear. The fourth is, we have a basket of 890 technologies which are clean, green, energy efficient. And so the officer concerned or the applicant has to just log in into our digital journey, and it will guide that whether you fall in green or not. And then you need not worry about what is the GHG emission reduction or energy saving. It is automatically calculated as a baseline. And the last but not the least is the monitoring framework which they should be amenable to. So this becomes green loans. And third step, which we have 2 more ladders which we have brought into picture, is green MSMEs and green clusters. When I call green MSME, then it would be beyond plant and machinery, even building, the entire industry should be green. So that is a dream which we are working on. So first 2 legs easily we could work upon. Then we tried out that how do you transit while doing this. Today SIDBI runs 5 missions, and these are woven around Panchamrit and NDCs of the country. And these missions are Mission EV for electrical vehicle ecosystem. We carry a theme here is, har MSME ke paas EV ya saath EV. They should either have EV or they should use EV. Second is Mission Energy Efficiency, where we have now artisanal clusters where microfinance can really play a good role. And these MSME clusters are also there. Few hundred clusters are energy inefficient. So we are bringing energy efficiency into that. And one way of doing is we do energy health checkup of MSMEs. Earlier it used, generally it is called energy audit, we don't call it. We call it energy health checkup, because we do the health checkup and make them to understand that there is a product process related aspects. If you build upon this, you can really look at your margin and grow. Because talking strictures or regulations will not appeal them. How do you build margin is what appeals them. The third is Mission RE, which is renewable energy. We started with just solar, and we decided that 1000 MSME का solar rooftop कर देंगे. So हर उद्यमी की छत पर solar was our theme. Today we work on wind energy and solar, all this. And fourth mission is Mission Circular Economy, where we bring out solution on waste management and woven around the entire circular economy. And fifth is nature-based solutions, which is adaptation. Now, if I look at all these five, all five have linkages and opportunities for microfinance. And so to do these 5 missions, we have 5 approaches also. Financing, development, thought leadership, then we have risk mitigant models, and then last is synergy for energy. Like we coordinate and collaborate with who's who are into this. Now coming to microfinance quickly is, we were talking to SEWA, and NRDC, Natural Resource Defense Council, was working with them, with women on solar irrigation and gobar gas and other things. So we interacted with these women beneficiary and told, why don't you go for EV? They told, why we should go for EV? It's costly. So we told, okay, then we need to really deliberate on a solution. So we brought a viability gap funding to induce a group of women to adopt EV. And once they adopted this EV through viability gap funding, the referrals which they started talking to their neighbors was so appealing that there was a demand that we should really look at EV being now funded at a bigger scale. So we brought in NBFCs into fray, and they told that my cost of fund is so high, how can I lend to them at the desired rates? So we created a blended financing facility and tried to bring down the interest rate. And the third step which we are working, which we are designing, is creating a risk sharing facility where we come as a technical mahuna backup to the lender, saying that you lend, I will give you the backup support in terms of risk sharing facility for these unknown, emerging, innovative, say, approaches. Like in EV segment, you must be hearing aggregator model, subscription model, battery swapping model. So a lot of testing and piloting needs to be done. So this risk sharing facility, what it does is, we do the technical evaluation through our team of technical experts, give the backing to the lender that go ahead and do financial appraisal and fund it. If anything happens, we'll provide a risk sharing backup of say 75% or 50%, whatever is decided. That is what will be christening out here. Today, SIDBI runs 3 risk sharing facility, one for EV segment, one for municipal solid waste, and third for the energy efficiency related things. So the idea is that all bandwidth of greening the economy, we need to play, and microfinance has a very strategic role to play. I will come later that there are few schemes which are already there, which we are running, and maybe I will cover it later.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Singh, for bringing this. According to you, as I already said, that the globally, if you see globally, the clean energy is the major green finance. More than 80% of the finance are going either to the clean energy or to the transportation sector. And you will see that the last study we made, where we found that only 1.8% of the green finance is actually going to the agriculture sector. So we are happy with that. Even the same story in India, that we are focusing mostly on the clean energy, which is important, but at the same time, because most of our MFIs are also working in the agriculture sector. We need to also a little bit focus on that. The second point on the ESG, it is very difficult at the moment to monetize the ESG. Why we need a monetization of ESG? Because once we are implementing ESG as a part of your sustainability, you have to also monetize it to do the risk modeling and also the pricing of your financing. So both of them will be very, very important to learn from you how you are monetizing this ESG into your pricing and risk sharing model. So thank you very much. I will come back to you again. The second speaker is Mr. Dibyajyoti Pattanaik, Director, Annapurna Finance. Sir, can you please take some time to describe your agency's, organization's work towards the green microfinance? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Das and Sa-Dhan for inviting and giving us this opportunity to speak about Annapurna and its initiatives. So Annapurna is a typical microfinance institution. Serves close to 3 million customers across the country and manages asset over 1,200 billion, in size. So coming to, our offering, like any normal, organization that approach this sector, we also started with elimination, and our idea was to fund solar, rooftop, and EV. So that the two areas we started. The idea, by far, I think we have already supported with 2.34 million USD portfolio in solar, and EV we have launched, like we've already funded 100 vehicles. We are tying up with large manufacturing companies and their dealership networks across the country to fund more and more EVs. So the idea behind when we were entering it, I think was very attractive, and it was a burning issue. We believed in some of the core areas which could impact livelihood, the whole climate change and the impact on the set of people that we are serving, and that's what attracted us to get into the space at the first place, because we believe that without creating adequate product line, be it at financing or insurance, it's very difficult to adapt to the climate change, or making it a green finance or whatever you can say. But for us, it was adoption. For us, for our clients, it's their livelihood, their life that matters, and that's how we came into this sector, because we realized that all those climate change and the impact of climate change which are happening are extremely impacting the livelihood and life of the segment that we are working with, particularly the people at rural India, particularly the women in rural India and urban, of course. And we kept facing that challenge year on year, and we internally then decide that we should be doing something about it. How can we ensure a better preparation for this, people and adoption? Unfortunately, as Mr. Das was also pointing out, adoption finance is very limitedly available, or even practiced limitedly, which is the biggest requirement, apart from the clean energy, the CO2 emission, which are also part of the mission. But I think for a larger section of the people that are directly impacted by this change, we are talking about a climate change GDP loss of close to 2 to 9% of any country's GDP. But when we talk about a small economy, a household economy, a 2-degree temperature rise will also take a 20-30% of income here and there. So while the larger picture and the larger taxonomy and all that are very interesting, But when we talk about a household at a rural India, in the central India, which last year saw a huge heat wave, have actually impacted their livelihood because they're all dependent on dairy, and it has a significant impact on the milk production. The very small changes, and here you need adoption finance. You need we haven't seen people funding, say, mangroves in coastal. I come from Odisha. We face cyclone. When I'm talking to you, we are actually a cyclone is heading towards my state. For funding the mangroves or funding the whole agriculture chains that are required to handle those such frequent flood and cyclone. So I think that's something which, and MFIs, and why we are talking about that, because MFIs are well posed to do that because they have the ability to reach out to the last mile. As a sector, we are close to serving 8 crore families. That means we reach to 8 crore families every day. Today, we have sent, cyclone alerts to, in Odisha, 5 lakh customers, SMS and, close to 3,000 WhatsApps to our MSME customers, the do's and don'ts, to prepare them for, for the situation that are coming to. So, and I'm sure, all the practitioners would look at that. And most importantly, when we talk about these challenges, there are not enough funding available, to put that. We just closed a green bond of 50 million USD from GCPF. But, these are all small, limited, because, of course, as Mr. Das was pointing out, there should be a taxonomy, but also the fact that, we must understand what the risk we are possessing, by not getting there and funding the adoption, because there's no fallback. One insurance product we are testing, climate risk insurance, a pilot we are testing with, in MFIN and Annapurna, to ensure people who would be impacted through a cyclone or flood situation. And so these are all very beginning and basic, but I think the problem, the magnitude of the problem that are there, you need the entire industry to come and respond to that to ensure a larger livelihood challenge that are going to be posed and are already been there. The impact of this climate change on our livelihood and our daily life, the kind of investment needed, and the kind of investment needed to reach to that bottom of the pyramid. I think that's where the whole challenge is. And I think as a sector, as an industry, or as, the interaction with the other shareholders, stakeholders of the industry, this is very important. The biggest challenge which we faced while we entered to this sector was the preparation, the knowledge. It's a completely different gamut than what we were doing. Like the way SIDBI helped us to get into microfinance when nobody was about to know what microfinance is in India, and spend a lot of money in building that whole thing. I think it's time that SIDBI should again come back and redesign the whole, climate adoption and resilience and mitigation finance for us to be there and get that delivered to the last mile. Otherwise, the number that, you want to drive as an organization and your vision, it will take you 10 years, or, the problem would, the magnitude of the problem is getting bigger and bigger. I think that is very important and essential that, you should do that. And you can see from the audience, there's a pretty young team sitting over here and listening, because they're all worried about their future, because they are going to be there for next, 40, 50, 60, 80 years. And they're worried about the environment that, they're going to live in. So I think that's, and we as an industry, we as an institutions must respond to, what they are seeking out of us.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pattanaik, to bring in the ground reality, which is extremely important for us, for our learnings and also take actions. One very interesting thing, you will not be happy to listen, is that 1/3 of the global green gas emission is done by the agri-food sector, not the energy sector. So we are worried as Mr. Pattanaik that we need to develop our adaptation plan in such a way that the microfinance can play a very important role what they are doing in the access to finance. So the similar way, we need the microfinance to come up with a similar plan. So now with this, I go to Mr. Emmanuel More, the investment director of Caspian Impact Investment Advisor. Sir, you have 3 minutes to talk about your organization. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Caspian is it's a hybrid. It does both equity and debt funding, but I'll focus on the debt part of the business that we do. It's about a 600 crore book, which is not very big, but about a sixth of that is in green technologies. So we have portfolio companies working in electric vehicles, in electric vehicle finance, battery swapping, EPC companies, those which are smart cooling technologies. So these are all the kinds of companies we have in our portfolio in energy. And in the agri space, again, cooling solutions that are closer to farmers, that are decentralized, solar powered, solar pump sets. The companies in our portfolio who have brought down food losses in processing from 20% to 2%. Companies which have brought down water use in agriculture, reduced pesticide consumption, fertilizer use, and all these result in saving of energy, saving the environment. And as Professor was saying, very often it's difficult to quantify the benefits of these kinds of technologies and what we are funding, but we are very much in this space in the long run and significantly doing work in this space. Probably why we are present here in the Sa-Dhan event is because recently we have, along with Sa-Dhan, GIZ and Sustain Plus, decided to fund green technology solutions for small entrepreneurs and for microfinance clients. There's a whole bouquet of products out there which are technologically proven, which can be taken to scale, but there's no lines of credit. Funding isn't there. And it's foolish to be waiting. You know, the whole portfolio that can be built around these products would be a few crores. And so waiting for some green bonds from somewhere to come and dawn on us is foolishness. So we are willing to deploy our own resources and work with partners like Microfinance who have the distribution network and the reach to get these products out there. We will work together to structure, design these products in terms of repayment schedules and other things. The technology providers have already figured out the post-sale service and other items. Although this has been there for 2-3 months, the offtake hasn't been great, but I think we will be the forerunners in this space to be able to actually scale up this business, and when it reaches a certain stage and volume of portfolio, mainstream investors, global investors will find it attractive. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It's very important that the investors work, apart from the banks, investors are also coming up to work with the microfinance institutions, although the risk profiling will be a little bit difficult, as he said rightly. The quantification of this is also difficult. But it's a great idea to work, that locally available resources, don't wait for the donor agencies to come. Thank you, Mr. More. Now I may request Mr. Abhishek Jain Director Powering Livelihood, CEEW, to speak about the institutional work you are doing on this greening agriculture or greening the microfinance.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Das. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Das. Good afternoon, everyone. So I represent a policy research and advisory organization called Council on Energy, Environment and Water. We, of course, do a lot of work on how do we make various government policies, both at the national level as well as at the sub-national level, more sustainable, both for social outcomes as well as the environmental outcomes. Among different things that we do, one of the initiatives that we run is called Powering Livelihoods, where we have been engaging a lot with the clean tech solutions which are meant for improving livelihoods and incomes on the ground. So imagine solutions like a waste biomass powered cold storage, or a solar dryer, or a solar milling machine for rice to millets, or a multi-purpose food processor running on either highly energy efficient, running on grid, or running on solar where the grid is not reliable. A solar refrigerator for fisheries value chain, for dairy value chain, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so just to give you a sense of the kind of solutions that we have been working on. And of course, there is one thing common with many of these solutions, that they are capex heavy. You're paying for the next 20 years of energy cost on day one. So finance becomes critical to enable adoption of these solutions. There is no other way, barring just huge subsidies, either public or philanthropic, to actually scale up the adoption of these solutions. And in that context, when your customer is in the rural area, which is typically not having the cash to afford them with a down payment, you're looking at MFIs, small finance banks, in a big way to reach to those customers. In some cases, the ticket size becomes challenging, like MFIs typically are comfortable with, let's say, sub 1 lakh ticket size. Some of these technologies go beyond as well. They, of course, range from anything between 20,000 to, let's say, 15 lakh, if you're talking about a solar cold storage. So that is one challenge, but I think having a sort of range and spectrum of financiers, there are NBFCs with whom we are working, there are fintech companies with whom we are working, who are now able to unlock a lot of these loans. We managed to do about 400 loans for solar refrigerators through a tech-enabled financing, which now, and of course we had to put a risk guarantee. Just like we were hearing from SIDBI as well. These are emerging technologies, so financiers see a lot of risk. And it's a dual risk, the risk with the actual borrower, if there is no credit history especially, as well as the risk of the new technology. So we try and come in with first loss default guarantees to help unlock the finance, to at least build the confidence of the financier as these technologies get deployed on the ground. And the good thing is that over the years, that the proportion of the default guarantee has been coming down, which means by keeping smaller and smaller guarantees, we're able to unlock same level of loans. We have seen less than 3% of NPA in that entire portfolio of about 400 loans that are deployed. So it also tells you that these are viable solutions. But one other thing that happens is building the capacity of the financiers around these new solutions. They're not necessarily aware of how to do the economic viability or a loan viability for a solar cold storage to be deployed in a lemon and capsicum value chain. So how do you actually also build capacity of the financiers? We're also working a lot on that, but maybe I can come back to it if we get to do a second round of interventions. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jain, for bringing this technology adaptation in collaboration with the MFIs and small finance banks, along with the fintechs. That's very important to add the fintech in your portfolio, and how your first loss guarantee mechanism is working. We will be interested to know that because that's a new instrument globally being used by the banks, development financial institutions, but very less in case of the microfinance. We are doing a project in 6 countries on this first loss mechanism, but we are still not getting the private finance to come in on this first loss mechanism. Thank you very much. Now may I request Mr. Sahil Khanna, General Manager Asia and Latin America, Sun King, to speak about his organization. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Das, and big thank you to Sa-Dhan for giving us the opportunity to come here and talk. I'd like to just take a few minutes to talk about what Sun King does. We are a global leader in solar energy solutions, and it's so exciting to see all of these green tech solutions and lending opportunities that are coming into this space. But just as a background, we started in India in the year 2008. As a company which just manufactured solar lanterns. We expanded into a wide foray of products as time passed. But during our initial times back in the year 2010, we started seeing this huge opportunity of unlocking microfinance as a distribution channel. From then to now, we now partner with most microfinance institutions in India to actually provide solar energy solutions to rural customers, and we've been upgrading through the energy ladder as time really goes on. Now, apart from India, we've done this work across Asia Pacific. We're also very, very big in sub-Saharan Africa, and we've seen a lot of innovative finance come into this space. And we've essentially not just been a product manufacturer, but in a lot of countries, we also act as financiers. So just to put things into perspective, today we have a total portfolio of about $1 billion in solar loans spread across multiple countries in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia. We were one of the first companies operating in Africa to get a $130 million loan securitization deal for deploying solar off-grid solutions. And today we are looking at more and more innovative ways to reach our customers. And you know, we talk about climate change a lot, and let me just talk about the fundamentals of how we want to approach this, I would say, issue as well as opportunity as a green tech company in terms of how we approach this problem. So in essence, climate change is caused by what? It's caused by fossil fuels, right? It's caused by greenhouse gases. It's caused by all of these emissions over the industrial era, which we now find ourselves in, and you know, we're trying to decrease the amount of climate impact that's going to be affecting our nation or the world over the next few years. So I think the broader question is what can we as this industry or all of us sitting here can really do to make an impact. And I think one of the things that we unlocked as a large green tech organization was that financing is extremely necessary to reach the end consumers. We heard from a lot of panelists that a lot of these technologies might be expensive, right? The upfront cost might be high, and the people in need might not be able to afford these solutions. So as much as we have seen financing stepping in, along with certain policies which have actually helped the sector, we've seen businesses like ours, and in fact the entire industry, grow to heights that we could have never imagined even 5 to 7 years back. And the applications go far wider than just lighting. 10, 15 years back, we just spoke about how to get lights into the houses of unelectrified population in different countries. But today we're not talking about energy access. Today we're talking about energy transition. How do we move from fossil fuels to renewable energy? What can we do about it? And today we see massive opportunities, right? A lot of people here would have heard about PM Surya Ghar Yojana, Har Ghar Bijli Yojana. That's the work of our policy makers to actually help every individual adopt solar energy and create a mini power plant in their own house. That's what you can do as consumers. That's what all the financing companies here can do, is to actually enable consumers to get these products. And I think national banks have done a great work. Some NBFCs have done great work to actually reach this space and do a lot. And I think what's yet to be seen is that while microfinance inherently has played a key role in distributing smaller, decentralized renewable energy products, how can MFIs and NBFCs step up and play a major role in energy transition by promoting larger solutions like solar rooftop and contributing more heavily to UN SDG goals? Thank you.
Thank you, Sahil. We see that there is no clear difference between a commercial banking system as well and the microfinance. In case of microfinance, it is very evident that we not only finance the economic activity, but also we finance the living standards, which is very important, which is completely absent in case of the commercial banking. So that's where microfinance has a step ahead. And on that, because the time is limited, we do not have much time, but we have some time to ask each of you one major solution based on the emerging green financing or the new revolution, which we do not call it as a green revolution, but greening revolution. So what will be your punching line on that what should we do as a Sa-Dhan, as an association, as a SRO, what kind of voluntary measures we should take so that there will be a visibility and the impact will be higher. Mr. Singh.
So when we started this green financing or embedded environment and social risk framework in lending, we used to go to the MSME and tell that you have to comply with this ENS form and then only we'll lend to you. And there was a sort of a, you can say, distraction or revolt that, are you police inspector, that while lending you are asking that I should comply with environment and social aspects, that you should not do pollution, you should be linked to common effluent treatment plant, you should not employ child labor and all these things. Now, then we reversed the gear. What we did was, let's sensitize the lending officers to have ENS framework in their heart. And when they go, they should try to evolve it as a culture and tell them that, see, if you do this sort of thing, if you employ child labor, if you do pollution, maybe in the value chain you will miss gaining, say, margins or profitability. So today, what is happening, if you see, like SEBI has already told big corporates that 75% of the value chain, means MSME, right up to the last mile, also needs to be tracked on ENS, right? There is extended producer responsibility which is coming in. Now, as many such aspects are evolving, people are saying will not import if it is not traceability till the last mile is not established. So this is going to be a compulsive phenomena, and for us to develop this as a culture, the capacity building has to be done both on the supply side, means lender side, and on the demand side, means the aspirant side. Because I think the niche of microfinance has been that we have been breaking barriers beyond boundaries. And when Dasa was mentioning that how do you monetize, I a bit differ on this, is I would say, let us do the placement first, then talk about replacement, right? So this will accrue on its own. The carbon pricing will evolve on its own. Even on MSME side, we are still trying to embed ESG with incentive, and that has been the approach. And I will just quickly tell you two schemes where MFIs also can think of coming in. Government of India has started Gift and Spice program, Green Investment for Transformation. This is implemented by SIDBI. So any MSME, which includes micro, if they go for green investments, there is a 2% interest subvention which is available. And if they go for capital investment in circular economy, like waste management, reuse, reduce, recycle, and they go for a loan of 50 lakhs, there is a capital subsidy of 25% which is available to them. And MFIs are eligible on the second leg, which is the circular economy. But on the both legs, the gift and spice, NBFCs are eligible. Now, coming next is SIDBI is creating a fund. We have recently got a sanction of USD 200 million from Green Climate Fund, and we are creating a $1 billion facility. And one of the eligible entities which we have made is Besides small finance banks and MFI, it would be MFIs. So NBFCs, SFBs, MFIs would be the eligible entities. And here we would be working on mitigation as also adaptation. And when I talk about adaptation, we would be covering areas such as the agri-allied activities, disaster responsive mechanisms being supported, water management, health-related aspects, sanitation and hygiene aspects. So the adaptation side, which is what Pattanaik sir was also mentioning, it is evolving area, and I think we being at the last mile, we should take advantage of these aspects coming in. Now coming to risk mitigant models, SIDBI is working on this and other institutions are equally working on this. But we will try to evolve some risk sharing facilities on these lines. Like presently we are working to create a risk sharing facility for nanopreneurs who are going for say green investments. So my quick call or expectation or aspiration with Sa-Dhan would be, let us build the capacity of the entire value chain, bottom up as also top bottom, and both supply and demand side, coupled with financial and non-financial services, for which I think MFI ecosystem is apt and it is placed there right out there.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, because this is very important to sensitize. Mr. Pattanaik, what one most important thing we will be taking out today?
I think Mr. Singh have already pointed out that we need to have larger MFIs contribute to the sector, and I think Sa-Dhan has to play a large role building the capability of these institutions to deliver the product line, because the magnitude of the problem is far larger than what a single or one or two institution can actually do. We at Annapurna, whatever technology and capacity we are developing, along with our partners like IFC and other institutions globally with responsibility, we will ensure that it is available to the entire industry free. And if there is any support required from our capacities that we have built over a period of last 2 years in this area, we are happy to extend all our support, including funding, to the sector.
Yes, thank you. A larger contribution through collaboration. I think that can be another mantra. Mr. Murray.
Yeah, in very simple terms, convergence, collaboration and capital. And I think a lot of the speakers here talked about lack of capital, and we believe we can fill that gap and provide capital to both test and design debt products in this space. And so coming together of different institutions to make this happen.
Yeah, during our banking days, we used to have 5C. Now you have come up with 3C. Thank you. Mr. Jain.
Yeah, I think it's actually good to see that there is a lot of convergence in what we all are saying in terms of the top priority. And I was also going to emphasize that as Sa-Dhan, as someone representing the entire MFI sector, we really need to focus a lot on building the capacity of the MFIs in understanding what are green finance, because there are two broad spectrum there. The adaptation finance is very different from the mitigation finance. Understanding the nuances of various technologies, various solutions on the ground. Like we, for example, we didn't discuss food and ag as much, but we looked at almost 20 different sustainable agriculture practices. Now, most of the financiers are actually not aware of even 2 out of those 20, barring maybe organic, which we all have come across as consumers. Right, so what does these technologies mean? In which context are they making sense? In which cropping patterns are they making sense? Where is it that they're economically viable? Where is it that they're not? All of that, I think, needs a pretty significant capacity building of the space. And if we can really start a multi-year effort on building the capacity of the financiers on taxonomy, risk assessment, how to unlock finance for different contexts, different applications, I think that will be very, very significant. Honestly, if you look down 30 years down the line, every finance that would be deployed would be green finance in one or the other way. either the economy would be demanding it or the resilience side of the economy would be demanding it. Like, so it's really high time, I think, that we start investing a lot in the capacity building in a very explicit fashion.
Right. No, thank you. Thank you for bringing up the technical capacity. That's also a very important point for technical capacity. Mr. Khanna.
Yeah, I think everyone covered it all perfectly. I'll just second what everyone else said. I think Sa-Dhan has already done a great job to provide a platform for policymakers, financiers, and product organizations to come together. What we need from here is actually a sit down and something that can be actioned very well. And just one appeal to all financiers who are here: if you want to start your clean energy journey, please meet us. We have a stall outside. We'll tell you how to start this. We'll tell you how to start making an impact. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you raised the most important point here also about the policies, which actually drives. We did a global survey where we found that the policy is the major driver for the green finance to the entire economy. So policy is important. We need to be very specific policy which can also build a level playing field for the MFIs to act upon. So I thank all of you for this wonderful inputs. I think we do not have much time to take questions. Otherwise, it would have been good to have questions. But for the time being, we are signing off. But with a great appreciation to all of you, including the audience. Thank you very much.
Check. Thank you, panelists, for such enlightening discussion. We hope the participants had many takeaways from this session. As a token of gratitude and appreciation, we would like to present a small memento and shawl to the speakers of this session. May I request Mr. S.S. Bhatt, CEO FWWB, to present the memento and shawl to the speakers. So we have Mr. S.S. Bhatt, CEO FWWB. I also invite Mr. Sajid Amit, Executive Director, South Asia, Water.org, to join us in the dais. Request all speakers to come forward for a group photo, please. Thank you. Thank you, speakers, and thank you, participants. Now we'll have a break for tea. We'll have a 10-15 minutes tea break.